So I'm going to open for the first time my Forster original case trimmer. And this is what you use after you've shot rifle brass 1 or 2 times, and as soon as it has stretched to be longer than the maximum length that it's allowed to be, you need to trim it so that it's within spec. And you use a case trimmer for that. And this one's by Forster. It's supposed to be a good quality one. What does it say here on the box? Finest case trimmer available. Staggered cutting tooth design for fast, smooth, chatterless cutting. Brown and sharp type collet for consistent case length. Case length accuracy to 1/1000th of an inch or less. And you can also use these extra accessories with this case trimmer. 3-in-1 case mouth cutter. Primer pocket cleaner. Primer pocket chamfering tool. Neck reamer, outside neck turner, hollow pointer. So that's what you've got on the front of the box. It's made in Illinois, apparently. So a US made product. So let's pop it open and see what's inside. I've got a number of envelopes here, some instructions, and some lovely looking metal. Looks like some anodized aluminum. Some steel here. There's the cutter. Let's see what we've got. So, instructions. It's just a couple printed pages stapled together, so you know how to use it. General information. These are instructions for the original and classic case trimmers. And this one is the original case trimmer. Gives you a nice breakdown here of all the parts. It's quite a few parts, more than I was expecting to see. Assembly, make a trial cut to check the case length, make finer adjustments, and set the stop collar. Trimming a batch of cases. Collets and pilots, ordering information for different components, collet step dimensions. So the collet, each collet has a number of steps in it that can accept different size rims. Custom machining services. I guess Forster has some custom machining services. That's interesting. Cutter shaft resharpening. Special case trimmer pilots. And then here are some accessories. So those are the instructions. And what is this? Forster accessory case. So I don't know if you can buy this whole kit or if it's just a case to put things. It looks like it's just a case that you can order, so they're trying to sell me more stuff already. There's one of the collets. I'll give you a close-up of that later after I've opened it. Here's another collet, and these are the stepped collets. Each one can hold a different variety of cases. Another collet. Pilot. I don't know what that is. Another pilot. Another pilot. Pilot. So 22 pilot, 24, 25, 27, 28, 30, and that's it. These are pilots. I'll tell you what those are after I figure it out. Some screws. These, I'm sure, just to hold it down firmly to your workbench or to a piece of plywood that you could clamp onto your workbench. Just some small wood screws, 4 of them. Alright, now the good stuff. And then this, the actual trimmer. Oh, and then this Allen wrench fell out earlier. It looks like it fits an Allen head screw right there. I don't know what that's for, but Allen wrench and the trimmer itself. And that's it. That's everything in the box. Right, so you can see, so this is, looks like anodized aluminum, but it's really hefty. Actually, when this was in the box, I was thinking this was plastic. This is plastic, but this is very, very top heavy. I'm pretty sure these are steel. This, again, looks like anodized aluminum. You got the 4 screw holes there, so you can mount it either to your bench, if you know where you want to put it, and you know that you want to leave it there, or you could cut a piece of plywood, I don't know, maybe a foot. You could probably do 6 inches deep, a foot long, and that would give you plenty of clamping area. And then you could just clamp that to the edge of your workbench and then move it when you're done trimming to get it out of your way. So the collets will go in here, and then the case will go on the end of that, and then you'll adjust this, I guess, to adjust your overall length that you trim to. And this has a real nice, very nice precision feel to it. It's my initial impression. You can see it's threaded there, and it's a pretty big diameter, maybe an inch. So really nice quality feel to that. This would be the depth stop. I don't know what this Allen head is for. There's an Allen head screw here, and another one here, and that wrench fits those guys. So what you would do, I guess, is loosen this up and slide it forward to be your depth stop. So this would limit how much you trim off of your case. Looks like they reversed the handle here just for shipping. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, it's threaded. So that just makes it a little more compact for shipping. And you're always going to be turning this in the same direction as you trim, so there's no lock nut or anything on this, but that should not be necessary at all. Screw on this way, and then when you trim, that's the way you're going, so it'll stay on by itself. There's an Allen head screw here. So that's the business end of the Allen screw, the end that'll press or be a stop. So I guess what you do, you loosen these 2 screws and then move this collar to give it a rough set as far as a stop, tighten them, and then this would be a fine adjustment. You move this screw, the Allen head screw here, and that would be a fine stop to adjust with greater precision the depth of cut. And right here you can see with this handle tight, it kind of obscures that screw, but that's not a problem. Unscrew that guy, unscrew that guy, and then you could just adjust that so that screw's visible if that's a problem. Although the truth is, this collar will likely be over here, so there wouldn't be any blockage anyway. So let me pop out a collar, or a collet, and see what these pilots are for, and I will show those to you. So this is one of the collets. It comes with 2 collets. Each collet, you can see, has steps inside, and so even just this single collet can hold a variety of cases. This is a 308. I'm going to be trimming a bunch of 308 cases. I went through a batch of once fired brass and sorted them according to brass which is less than or equal to 2 15/1000 inches long, and those which are longer than that, and the ones that are longer than that I'll trim. So I've got a box of those, and you can see that the 308 doesn't fit on the first step here, but it fits one step down. You can kind of see there. Now this collet will grip the rim and hold it, and let me show you how that works. You screw this guy all the way out, and the collet just drops in there, and you can see the collet there. It's got this rounded edge, so you can see that if this pushes, if there's a surface here and this guy pushes against the collet, you could see that as it pushes on this curved area, it would cause these four parts of the collet to clamp inward and to grip the rim of that case. And let me put this together, and that might be a little clearer how that works. That opening there in this piece is a little bit too small for that collet to come right through. So the rim of the collet pushes against this front part, and that allows this inner piece to push on that curved rear part of the collet, and it allows those four parts to clamp down, to get squeezed together and clamp down on the rim. You probably can't tell in the video, but I can see those pieces moving together, gripping together. And so between when this is completely clamped together, which I'm sure is probably tighter than I would ever use in real life, it's a full turn. So it's one full turn from when this is loose, the collet's completely, or not being compressed at all, to when it's fully compressed. And that should be less than I would ever need to move it in real life. So let's put this guy in here, and then just clamp that down, and there, it's tight. It's gripping that guy. So it's simply a matter of, so there it's touching. The collet now is touching this face. Put this case in there, start to turn it. That's less than a quarter turn of this handle, and it's gripping that guy. So now you'll push this forward, and you'll turn like this, and it'll cut. And then you'll need to adjust this to limit how far inward this guy cuts. So if I put this back here, I could start turning this handle and pressing in this direction, and it would just cut, and I'd eat away my whole case. So you slide this collar over, clamp it in place, and that'll limit your depth of cut. Okay, I said I didn't know what this Allen head screw was for. Now I do. There's something called a pilot. Well, this kit comes with 6 pilots. A pilot, of course, is a guide of some sort, and that's what it is in this case. The instructions didn't tell me which one to use, but I just fired up my cell phone and I just did a search, which Forster pilot for 308, and the first result that came up was Midway's website, and it had a number 30 there, so I took that as my answer. See, this is the number 30, and this goes right here. Just push it all the way in. I had to loosen the Allen head screw a little bit, and let me just show you. These cases are, I've deprimed and neck sized them which is one step on my loading press. It's one die. Pops the primer out and sizes the neck here. So this is sized, and this number 30 fits very snugly, but I don't think it expands the neck at all. It just fits real snugly. So it's going to, between the clamping action of the collet and this pilot, it's going to make this case perfectly in alignment of the axis of this tool. Oops. Lost my pilot. Thankfully it pops back out there and I'll pull it out. So, put the pilot in here. And keeping this in alignment is important because keeping this on the perfectly on axis of the tool is important, because if you don't, then the rim of your case will be at an angle like this. This rim won't be perfectly perpendicular to the axis of the case, which for good accuracy you want. You want that to be perfectly perpendicular so that it lets go of the bullet at the same time all the way around. So, pilot, just make sure it's up against there. I suppose it doesn't matter if it's out a little bit, but there's probably no good reason to, well, actually, if you push it up against there, I suppose it could damage these blades. I don't know that the chances are great of that happening, but I suppose it's possible. So I could push this all the way up against those teeth, and I think just pushing it up against them probably won't make a difference, won't hurt anything, but I'll leave just a tiny little bit of space there. And then I'll snug down this Allen screw so it holds the pilot firmly in place. Number one, well, I suppose it's lined up regardless because it is a nice snug fit into the shaft here, but that'll keep it from falling out into the case since it does fit the case quite snugly. And the instructions actually say to put a little grease on the front edge of the collet, and some grease on this rear curved surface, and some grease on the base. I don't have grease, so I'm just going to put some oil on there, at least for the time being. I think that'll suffice, hopefully. Now the instructions actually say to put the pilot firmly up against the cutters, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not sure it really makes a big difference either way, but I'll do what the instructions say to do. Now I had some plywood out in the garage. It was this width and quite a bit longer. I just whacked it off to about a foot or so. It could have been a few inches shorter and it wouldn't have been a problem. I mounted it flush up against this end just so I had a lot of space to turn the cutter. It gives me a little room to move my hand around there. Be careful, these are pretty small screws, so they'll strip your wood pretty easily. So if you use a drill or whatever to screw them in, just be gentle with it. I just threw these clamps on here, and then when I'm done using it, I can unclamp them, throw it underneath the bench, get it off the tabletop, and free up the space. If you've got lots and lots of space, you might want to bolt it to your tabletop. It'd be nice if you had so much room that you could leave it permanently attached. But just do whatever works for you. Alright, so I've got a collet installed that I know will fit the case I'm using. And I've got the pilot installed here. So to start off, we put the case, we need to make sure that this crank handle is in a position where the collet's not tightened at all. And that's, you can tell pretty easily when there starts to be some drag. So just make sure there's no drag on it. Put the case in here, push the crank end so that the pilot goes into the case, and just apply a little pressure in that direction so that the rim of the case is firmly in the collet, and then tighten this guy down. Alright, Now we know that the case is aligned with the axis of the tool here, and we've cranked it down so it's not going to move any. Now what I want to do, make sure that the fine adjustment screw right here is protruding. The instructions say a 32nd of an inch, but it just needs to be protruding enough for you to cut down to the depth, your final depth here. You'll see what I mean in a second. So with that screw protruding some, and with this handle, or with the shaft of the cutter completely against the case, I want to move this adjustment collar firmly against this part of the tool, and then I want to tighten it down. Give that a twist. Oh, all right. This screw is pretty stiff, so I actually need to turn it more than I thought. I was just trying not to strip it. So still not tight. Let me adjust this one on the opposite side a little bit. That one's much looser. Okay, now I can tell it's... Ah, you know what? Never mind. This one, okay. Here's an important distinction. You've got an Allen head screw coming in this side, and it goes all the way against the shaft. So I can tighten that down firmly so this collar won't move. Here's one on this side too. However, what that is, that's a set screw to lock the fine adjustment screw in place. So I don't want to tighten that down right now. So with this out a little bit, I should be able to turn the fine adjustment screw and adjust it either way. This guy is a lock screw to lock the fine adjustment screw in place. So don't crank down on this expecting it to lock this collar against the shaft. It won't happen. You need to adjust the one on the other side where there is no fine adjustment screw here. So alright, that's snug. Now, alright, this collar, which is locked on this shaft here, prevents this cutter from cutting like crazy into my case here, no matter how much I turn. So, it cut just a teeny tiny little bit initially, but very, very little. If I back this out, pop the case out of here, I had already adjusted my caliper to 2 15/1000 inches, and in fact, just the teeny tiny little bit that was trimmed initially is almost enough for this one to fit through. Actually, it is. Let me get another case. Alright, this one won't fit. Let's try this again. Put that in there, move this firmly against it. Actually, I think I'm going to need to go a little further with that adjustment. Actually, this case is really, really close to 2 inches and 15/1000. I think the problem is where this case, where the extractor tugged on it to extract it out of the chamber, maybe pulled the rim down a hair, and that's the part of it that won't fit through. I think the rest of it actually is probably just about exactly 2 15/1000. So that's actually an interesting thought, to think how the rim, if the extractor tugged on it so that part of the rim sticks down a little bit, could prevent this from seating all the way. Could give a little bit of impact to your case length, but that is something I don't know about how that would affect it. So let's put this guy in here, push this in. Actually, I need to loosen this up. Push that firmly in. Tighten that down. Tighten that down. Alright, now trim just a teeny tiny little bit off there. Let's pull this out. See if it... Let me power this on and make sure I'm still... Yep, 2 and 15 thousandths. Good, I locked this set screw, so I don't need to leave this powered on. Okay. 2 and 15 thousandths. And this does not fit. So, good. This is perfect. Put that in there. Ram that up. So now, I'm still in the adjustment phase here, just so you know. I'm not busy cutting things. I'm just adjusting. Now, what I need to do is take this fine adjustment screw and back it out a hair. That will allow, if I back it out, which is this way, it'll allow this whole unit here to go further in this direction. So, alright, I just cut some brass off this rim. Actually, it seemed like it cut a bunch, so maybe I moved that screw too far. But this is the idea. Don't want to move that fine adjustment screw too far. Okay. I probably cut a little too much off. So at least now I'm getting an idea how much moving this screw will affect the depth of cut. Let's screw that back in some. If the case is a tiny bit, a few thousandths shorter than 2 inches and 15 thousandths, I think that'll be okay. 2 and 15 thousandths is the maximum length it can be. This one is close. It could be that rim issue again. We'll get it figured out here. I want this in as far as it'll go. I want that pilot supporting the mouth. But if the cutter is not quite touching the rim, then I need to push on the case myself so the case is firmly seated into the collet. Okay, it cut a little bit. This case will be a tiny bit longer than the last one because I did back out this fine adjustment screw. Okay, that still fits. So, just barely though. I think that was a little bit better than the last one. Let me back out this fine adjustment screw just a tiny bit more. Just maybe a 1/16th of a turn or something, just barely. And then actually, let me go ahead and lock this set screw down. Not real tight, just enough to keep the fine adjustment screw from moving. Alright, grab another case. Okay, now I can feel that these teeth are actually pushing on the brass. So merely by pushing here, I know that the rim of the case, or the base of the case, is firmly against the collet. So that's good. Lock it down. Do a little trimming. And that does give me a really nice smooth cut. But it cuts aggressively. It cuts real quickly. But it feels really smooth and very precise. And by the way, this shaft inside this part of the tool is a really, really precise fit. It fits very, very nicely. Very, very precisely, and yet turns very easily. So they did a good job fitting these and machining those parts. Really nice job. Okay, that still fits through, but not with much room to spare. Let me back out this precision set screw again, just a hair. Undo the lock screw. And again, maybe just a 1/16th of a turn on the precision depth screw. Just a tiny little bit, since I did discover that a little bit goes a long way there. And this rim looks totally flat. Looks like didn't stick in the chamber, the extractor didn't tug on it too much. I think we're good to go. Put that in there, ram that home, and I can feel that the teeth are grabbing on there. That means I know that this is pushing on this. That means it's going to seat nice and snug in here. So that's good. That's fun watching those metal shavings come off of there. Did I turn the fine adjustment screw the right direction or the wrong direction? I don't know. A lot of metal came off of there. I think I turned it the wrong direction. Alright, we're honing in on it though. Well, actually I guess I didn't that time. Oops. Yeah, I think I went the wrong way. Let's try this again. I'll leave the set screw this time. I don't think I need to tighten it just for a one-time thing. So now the teeth aren't even hitting it. Let me check this again. Okay, this, I guess that case is about exactly 2 and 15 thousandths. Some of these were really close. Okay, this one definitely is longer than 2 and 15 thousandths. Okay, that's part of it. When this is loose, the case is further that way because this is a screw. So even though it's not touching at first, it doesn't mean that none will be trimmed off, because once I tighten this cutters can bump up against the head because the case moves this way when I tighten this. So, alright. Alright, we trimmed off just a hair. That's good. That feels a little better than last time when chips were flying. Okay, this is extremely close. That, boy, that seems just perfect. Try to hold it so you can see it here. Boy, that is, I would call that very, 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 very close to 2 and 15 thousandths. I'm not sure I can get closer than that. So, what I'm going to do is go ahead and lock this set screw down. I guess what would be ideal is if you had a trimmer for each of your cases. That way, because it takes a little time to adjust this, kind of like your dies. It takes some time to adjust. It's nice if you can leave it permanently, if you could. So I have one of these for your 308, set this to your depth, have another one for your 338 or your 223 or whatever. That would be ideal. But for most of us, that's probably not practical. Put that in there, push this in here. I'm going to push. Now it just says push. I think the manual just says push with this guy, but that still leaves this loose. So I'm going to push that in there so the pilot is in here as far as it can go. Then I'm going to take my hand and push in this direction on the case so it's seated completely. Actually though, that might not be necessary because as you screw this in, maybe it'll seat firmly in here. I suppose that's an interesting point to debate. Okay, I don't know if any metal shavings came off. It was very close. Yeah, okay, hair did come off. Good. So now we're rolling. That doesn't fit. Good. Push that. I'm going to go ahead and use my hand. I actually feel better. Whew. Lots of shavings came off of that guy. It's neat seeing those shavings curl up and come off. It truly is just a little lathe. Doesn't seem like it trimmed it quite short enough. So don't quit turning the handle until no shavings at all are coming off. Okay, that is a snug fit. I'm not having to force it, but I have to line it up perfectly for it to fit between the two caliper blades. That is really, really close to 2 15/10. Honestly, I feel like it's almost a little bit too snug of a fit. Let's shoot that dog. No, let's back this fine adjustment screw out just the tiniest little bit that I can move it. The tiniest bit that I can move it. Put that back in here, put that there, push that way, turn that down. Okay. Okay, it's still snug, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I would say that's about as close to 2 15/10 as I can come. To do another 1 or 2, and then I think I'll have good confidence. And at that point, then I would not measure each one. Probably don't need this quite as tight as I had it right there. Good. Perfect. 2 15/10. One more. I didn't tighten this quite as much that time. I don't think it's important that it's super tight. It's a little easier to undo that way. Boy, I think that's perfect. Alright, now I can quit measuring, and I can just pop a new case in there, run that home, push there, snug it down, turn that, and push this way while I'm turning. And then when the chips stop flying, I'm done. Now I can zip along at a nice pace. I've got, I don't know, 100 of these to do maybe. And I've got a separate batch that I'll do. Oops. I want to make sure to run this home before you tighten this, just so this is perfectly in line with the axis of the tool. You don't want to forget that. Good. It's pretty quick and easy, and yeah, it's like the rest of reloading. It's kind of fun. And if the case is way too long, this thing really just digs into the metal and cuts it quickly. It's kind of neat. And then what I'd probably do after I finish this is just take a vacuum and vacuum the chips up. They fall here. Some of them fall on the wood in front of me. Just hit them with a vacuum. Alright, so that's the Forster original trimmer. Comes with 3 different collets, a bunch of different pilots, so I would suspect that for all your typical cartridges, 223, 308, and so on and so forth, you're probably ready to go out of the box without buying any other accessories. It works great, it's beautifully made, it seems very solid, and just it's a real pleasure to look at and handle, and it just seems to work really nicely. I don't know if there's any better method to do the precision adjustment. That takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of effort, but I think once you've got it in place, I think it'll probably stay put and give you good results. So after going at this for maybe 10 minutes or so, this knob fell off. So the rubber comes off of here pretty easily, and there's a screw here. Actually, the shaft that holds this thing on is just a long screw, and there's a washer right there, and it looks like a plastic bushing there inside this turned aluminum knob. So the knob turns on the bushing, and it looks like this bushing here will butt up against the handle, so that when you tighten it, this will tighten against this lever arm. which will allow this knob to turn freely. I think that's how it works. So that's nice. So let's just snug this down a little bit. Let's see if that takes care of it. Yeah, so I can tighten this down nice and snug. I tightened it down quite a lot there. And then I suspect this will stay put for a long time to come. They probably just didn't get it super tight at the factory. That's what the rim of the mouth looks like after you trim it. One final thing about this trimmer, it has 4 cutters. You may or may not care about that, but I thought it was a detail I would share. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just trimmed probably 100 or more cases. Once you get going, you can really cook. So I did those and it went quite quickly. So what you see here is the pilot and the cutters. Although my arm did get a serious workout from turning this knob and pushing. So it's a good workout if you're really trying to make speed.